Here's a truth that sounds completely backward until you've seen it unfold in real time again and again. The more you talk to her, the less she feels for you. Not because you're saying the wrong things. Not because you're uninteresting or too emotional. It's because she doesn't crave your explanations. She craves the space where her emotions can grow. You think your words build connection, but in her world, what creates emotional depth is the tension of not knowing. That silence between texts, that pause before you respond, that unpredictability in your presence, it drives her wild in ways logic can't explain. You believe connection is formed through consistency. And for you, maybe it is. But for her, emotional obsession doesn't grow when everything is laid out. It grows when her mind has room to fantasize, to imagine what you might be thinking, what you might be feeling, and why you aren't always reaching out. It's not a game. It's not manipulation. It's the psychology of attraction. Women fall in love not through your constant attention, but through your mysterious presence. When she doesn't fully understand you, she leans in. She watches closer. She plays back your words in her head, trying to decode your intention. And in that mental loop, she starts to feel more for you. Because women don't chase clarity. They chase the feeling of anticipation. If you give her too much, too soon, if you eliminate the silence and always keep the channel open, she has no room to long for you. And longing is the root of emotional addiction. Men bond through loyalty. Women bond through tension. And when you remove that tension, when you remove the mystery, you're not building something strong, or you're slowly erasing the very feelings that made her interested in the first place. You've been told that women want honesty, communication, and emotional openness, so you step into that role. You become the man who checks in every morning, replies instantly, shares what you're feeling, and keeps her updated on your life. You believe you're being a great communicator. But what you don't realize is that every time you send that message, every time you initiate just to remind her you're there, you're removing the very tension that keeps her emotionally engaged. Women don't lose interest because of something you said. They lose interest because of how predictable your energy has become. When you're always present, always available, always sharing, there's no chase left. She doesn't have to reach. She doesn't have to wonder. And without that emotional gap to close, her desire begins to dull. You see, what makes a woman obsessed isn't just attention, it's uncertainty. It's the questions in her head about how you feel, why you pulled back, whether she's still on your mind. It's not about ghosting or manipulation, it's about space. Space that lets her thoughts wander. Space that triggers her emotional investment. Most men smother that space. They confuse constant validation with love. But love, to her, is built on anticipation, on surprise, on emotional highs and lows, not flatline predictability. And when you remove that, when you give her what she hasn't had to earn, she subconsciously places you in the category of a man she no longer has to work for. That's when her replies get colder. That's when her attention starts to scatter. And you're left wondering what went wrong, when in truth, you gave her everything but left her nothing to crave. It's not lack of effort that pushes her away. It's the absence of mystery that quietly kills the spark. Most men make the mistake of thinking that vulnerability is the ultimate form of intimacy. They believe that opening up completely, constantly expressing their emotions, and laying their entire emotional landscape bare will bring a woman closer. But women don't bond through overexposure, they bond through selective revelation and emotional strength. She doesn't want to hear your every insecurity, every fear, every emotional fluctuation. That level of access doesn't feel intimate. To her it feels heavy, even burdensome. What she's truly drawn to is a man who has depth, but doesn't spill it all. A man who feels everything but shows only what he chooses. That kind of emotional restraint signals strength, not suppression. It tells her you're in control of yourself, not driven by your feelings. And that's what builds her trust and attraction. Women want to feel like they're slowly uncovering you, layer by layer, not that you've dumped your entire inner world on them in the first week. It's not that you should hide who you are, it's that you need to understand timing and value. If she hasn't earned certain parts of you, she won't respect them when freely given. When you constantly vent, overshare, or flood her with emotional openness, you remove the polarity. You take away the tension that makes her lean in. You go from being a compelling mystery to a man who can't stop explaining himself. And when a woman no longer has to wonder, her curiosity dies. With it, so does her desire. Emotional strength isn't about never feeling, it's about not needing her to carry your emotional weight. Be expressive, yes, but only in a way that reflects control, purpose, and discernment. That's the difference between being emotionally available and being emotionally impressive. When a woman begins to feel something for you, her desire isn't to be smothered, it's to be challenged. Not in a cruel way, but in an emotional sense. She wants to feel like she's chasing something slightly out of reach. Something that could disappear if she doesn't hold on to it properly. That's the fuel of her attraction: uncertainty, suspense, a slight fear of loss. But when you constantly show up, always respond quickly, always make yourself available, you strip that challenge away. You give her the security before she even asks for it. And while it might seem like a gesture of love, to her, it quietly removes the fire. She begins to see you as emotionally dependent, even if you're not. It's not your kindness that pushes her away, it's your constant presence. The more you're there, the more she starts to feel like she doesn't have to work for you. And women do not value what they don't have to earn. She won't say it directly, but she feels it emotionally. Her texts get shorter, her tone shifts, she becomes busy. Not because you did something wrong, but because the game ended before it even began. You gave her everything. No mystery left, no chase, no uncertainty. Just predictable attention, wrapped in good intentions, and while you think you're being a great man, thoughtful, consistent, emotionally open, what she feels is a lack of polarity. You've become too accessible to certain. The tension that once drew her in is gone. And the moment she senses she has complete emotional control, she checks out. Because women don't want a man they can keep in a cage. They want one who could walk away at any moment but chooses not to. That emotional freedom is what keeps her coming back. Not obligation, not constant reassurance, just mystery wrapped in masculine presence. Attraction doesn't come from constant access, it comes from controlled absence. The man who understands this doesn't flood her with messages, attention, or reassurance. He's not cold or distant, but he's deliberate. He creates space, not to play games, but because he values himself enough to not overextend. And that space, that silence, it's where her emotions grow. It's in the hours or days she doesn't hear from you that her mind begins to replay your last conversation, wonder what you're doing, question if you're thinking about her. That's not cruelty, it's psychology. Women don't fall for men who are always available. They fall for the man who is slightly out of reach, who makes her wonder if she's doing enough to keep his attention. Not because he withholds affection, but because he doesn't give himself away easily. He understands that absence, when used correctly, creates emotional gravity. The man who gives too much too soon, who's always emotionally present, always texting, always explaining, ends up dulling her desire. He gives her certainty before she's invested, and what's given freely is rarely valued. Scarcity creates worth. It's not about being toxic or manipulative, it's about emotional discipline. A man who can sit in silence without needing validation radiates strength, and women are drawn to strength. Not the loud kind, not the showy kind, but the kind that says, I'm good with or without you. That quiet confidence, that calm detachment keeps her intrigued, because she senses he's not trying to win her, he's simply living in his power. And if she wants to be a part of that world, she has to rise to it. That's the man who stays on her mind, the one she can't figure out, the one who doesn't need her but still chooses her. That's what makes him unforgettable.